I was younger, I guess in my 20s, I team roped a little bit and I did a bunch of different stuff, and I had met this guy and ended up being friends with him, and he really wanted to team rope. And so he, I'll never forget, he just went out and he talked to a guy and he believed everything this guy said about this horse, and he bought this horse. And not that it wasn't a rope horse, it just wasn't a horse that he needed. It was one of those kind of horses that was just had a giant motor. And I'll never forget, because he went to this little team roping out in what's called Parkfield. Parkfield throws this great big ranch rodeo every year, and they got this giant arena. And so when he went out to rope, I guess he came out of the box and that horse broke so hard that one of his feet came out of the stirrup. He reached down, dropped his rope, reached down, grabbed the horn, and just held on. Well, this arena is nearly 400 feet across. And that horse just took off for the other end. And everyone just held their breath, because it looked like the horse was just going to run into the other end of the arena. And right at the very second you thought that was it, that horse ducked and turned left. And Don, poor Don, he went straight right into the ground and almost hit the other end when he stopped. But anyway, so I remember after that I had talked to him and I said, if you need to buy another horse, let me know, and we'll get it tried, make sure that it's not something that's too much for you. Anyway, and so with that in mind, a few weeks go by and he calls me up and says, hey, I got this guy, and he says he's got this really great horse. He rates, and he's really gentle, and he does everything he's supposed to do. He's a really great team roping horse for a beginner like me. And he went on, and I said, okay, well, that's great. I had a friend that had an arena over close to where Don was, and I had, at the time, was raising Corriente cattle. So I had cattle at the arena, so I could go and use it anytime I wanted to. And so all I had to do was call him. And so I told Don, bring the horse, have the guy bring the horse over there, and we'll try him out and play with him a little bit. And so he did. And he brought him in, and Don wanted me to ride him. And so I rode him around, and he seemed like he was okay. He's gentle, nice. He loped around real nice and soft. And I put him in the box, and when he went into the box, and normally a rope horse is kind of antsy sometimes in the box, and this horse just acted like, wow. He was gentle, and actually he acted like he'd never been in there, really. He just thought, well, it's no big deal, I'm here, And so he kind of backed up into the box, and he just stood there, and I thought, well, I'll let one out and see what he does, just see how he reacts. And we let a steer out, and that horse that horse looked just like this one. He was still wondering what was going on, And so I pushed the horse out, and he kind of, trotted out, but he never really broke and ran for the cow, And finally, I had to kick him and kick him and kick him. Finally, I got him to get to the cow before, we got to the end. And I thought, well, maybe that was just me. I just, he didn't think I was wanting to get that cow. So I went back into the box again. And this time I thought, well, I'll just, push him out. I sure didn't want to push him hard, because I don't like, when I get on a horse, I've gotten on some horses where people said these are nice, gentle horses, and they ended up, they can kill a guy if he's hanging out to dry trying to rope something, and then all of a sudden he goes in the bucket. So I was a little hesitant to push hard on him, and that steer came out, and I kind of pushed him out, and he did this horse kind of did the same thing, just kind of trotted out, and then he started to lope a little bit, and finally I was kicking him a little bit, and I thought, well, that steer's getting out there, and so I pushed him, and he had some gas. He ran to the steer, or he ran in that direction, and anyway, so the next one back, I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and just, go ahead and push him up and get him. Maybe it's just he needs to get pushed out of the box. And it was kind of my fault, because I wasn't pushing on the horse. And so the last year, or not the last year, but this next year, I went out and I pushed him out of the box. And boy, I'll tell you what, he had some gas. He ran right by that steer, and about 20 feet ahead of him, I was still pulling on him, trying to get him to stop and go back to the steer, And long story short, this guy had told Don that was just the best horse ever. And I mean, he made it sound like there wasn't a better horse in the county, okay? Let alone the state, but in the county anyway. And so Don probably would have bought another horse if I hadn't been there. And so, long story short, I guess, we parted right there. And I said, he's a nice, gentle horse. And I rode him around a little while longer, and I did some stuff. And I said, you got a real nice, gentle horse, but he's no rope horse, and Don's looking for a rope horse. And so we left, and I heard a couple of people I guess this guy said, well, ask George Toma about this horse. And a couple people had called me or asked me about the horse, and he said, is he a rope horse? And I said, no, he's not a rope horse. He is definitely not a rope horse. He's a gentle horse, but he's not a rope horse. And a couple different things like that. Well, then, I don't know, 2-3 months go by, and this guy calls me up, and he's desperate to sell this horse. And he calls me, and he says, you know, don't get me wrong, this horse was a nice horse, but he just didn't know anything. He was gentle, he could lope, he could make circles, but he did not know how to rope a cow or be where he was supposed to be. And so, anyway, this guy said, I got to sell this horse. And he had this horse priced at about $7,000 or $8,000 at the time, and that was a lot of money, but it was a good horse, it was worth it. And so he told me, I'll take whatever you give me, but I want to, you know, if you buy this horse, I'll make you a deal. He kept saying that, Well, finally, I don't remember how much we paid, but it was not very much. I went ahead and I bought that horse, and that horse turned out to be just a wonderful horse. He was great. He didn't know how to rope, and I kind of taught him to do, you know, we do a lot of brandons and stuff, and he'd stand there and hold the calf, and he did everything. In fact, he turned out to be Diane's horse. And the one horse that she never, a whole other story that I could go on with that one. Up until that time, Diane had never stayed on a horse. She'd always fallen off the horse, got bucked off, something always happened. And this was the one horse that she could stay on and never had any problem. We had that horse forever, and then another good friend of mine wanted it for his kids, and he bought it off me, and for all I know, it's still alive out there in California, but I doubt it. I think he'd been about 40 now. But anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, in the story, that the message that God laid on my heart is that how we represent ourselves and what we say is huge. And this poor guy that was trying to sell this horse, I shouldn't say poor guy, he knew what he was doing. He lied. He just flat out lied. But you know, it turned into a giant disaster for him. Later on, I found out he had all kinds of problems, money problems and all this stuff, and he was just trying to sell this horse for a lot of money. And he went about it the wrong way because he started to lie about the horse. I think if he would have presented that horse the way it was, he probably would have sold the horse for a decent price. But instead he lied, and then he told more lies. And there was more stuff. I mean, I talked to this guy later on, and I found out a lot of different stuff that he had done and said, and it was not a good thing. And it ruined his life. It ruined his life. In fact, the whole thing ended up, I heard he got divorced, and he had all these problems with his ex, and, you know, and I was thinking about that, and I realized that, you know, in the Bible it says, and, you know, I guess we can go both directions on this whole thing, and we can say that we're supposed to be, you know, always truthful, but at the same time we shouldn't, you know, go and do the wrong thing by being mean, truthful, like saying something that would bring someone down. Like if your wife or your husband or whatever says, hey, do I look fat in these jeans? You know, you don't say, yeah, honey, you look horrible. You say, you know what? Those jeans over there, I like them much better. Those other jeans look better. You look better in them. Or something like that. But so just so I clarify, nobody says later on, well, it's your fault you got me in trouble because you told me to be honest about everything. Well, and I'm saying be honest about everything, just don't hurt nobody's feelings. But on the other end of it, you can just about ruin your life. You can ruin the work that you might be doing in life. And, you know, the thing is, God's got us out there doing stuff and needs us. And as Christians, if we start to lie, boy, we can just mess things up. You know, one of the biggest problems when we first started going to church was the hypocrisy of it, or the hypocritical type people that would go to church and then, you know, things would happen. I'll never forget. We built this house out in California, and we had an electric line. We had to put our electric in, and I hired this guy who told me all this stuff was, you know, like I believed him because, you know, he's a reputable electrician, I thought. Well, ended up he charged us so much more than what we were supposed to do. Well, I'll tell you what, the weirdest thing about that was we went to a little church one time in Creston, which was, you know, over the hill from us. We was out in the country. And this is over the hill. I mean, it was probably 20 miles or something. A friend of mine said, we go to this church all the time. And I said, well, I'd like to try that. It's a little country church. And anyway, we went out there, and this guy was the preacher there. You know, I mean, at the time, I was just like, man, I'm done. You know, I'm done. I walked out. I didn't want to be in there with that guy. But see, and I thought about that later. It's like, how do we hurt? And that was extreme, by all means. But what about the person that's driving down the road and says, you know, Christ is everything in my life, and then has another bumper sticker on the other side that says, my vet is worth everything, I'll die for it. You know what I mean? My Corvette. And so you look at these people and they say one thing, but they're showing us everything different. And so I guess we need to look inside ourselves and remember that lying is bad. Lying is really bad. And a lot of times we do it and we think, well, we can just do a little bit. But you know what's funny is, in the Bible it says, truth stands the test of time. Truth stands the test of time. And then it goes on and it says, but lies are soon exposed. And I think that's a key to our life, is that we have to remember that lie isn't going to help us in any way. And sooner or later it's going to come back and it's going to bite us. And I guarantee that it may not even do it in this lifetime, but you know what? God knew we did it. And so what I'm trying to say is, I guess the best thing that I can say right now, the message that God gave me was that to be as truthful as we possibly can, knowing that we may not always do it just right. But we can sure enough try, and we can keep pushing that way and keep doing the right thing. And you know what? When other people see us, then they'll see a Christian. We don't have to say we're a Christian. They'll see a Christian. They'll know that, when things happen, it doesn't matter what it is. But when stuff happens and you feel like, oh, I don't have to say anything about that, nobody saw it. That's the time when you say, wait a minute, God saw it. And I do have to come clean. Because God is with us all the time. Even though we're not made up, always be with Him. He's there. He's there. And so He's waiting for us to show or to shine His light. And the way we do that is to be honest and truthful. There's nothing better in my life than to have someone come and tell me something that I messed up. We've got a guy that works on our trucks and cars, and he'll quote a price, and it'll be like, say, $250. And then when he gets done, he goes, hey, yeah, it was only $220. And I love that. That to me is like somebody saying, because I'm already going to pay him $250. He already said that. But he came in less than he thought, and he passed that on to me, and that's wonderful. I think that we need to always remember that that's what people, that's the light that God says to shine so that people can see. In this dark world, we need to always be that way. And it's hard sometimes, because it's easy just to say, oh, well, I've got this, I don't have to say anything else, I've got it. But God expects more than that from us as Christians. God expects us to be the man or the woman that He needs, the one that He can count on, the one that He's sending out as a disciple to bring light to a dark, dark world. And that's really the bottom line. I've got some scriptures I want to read to y'all. And they're all out of Proverbs. And I love Proverbs, and I think everyone knows that when I was younger, I say it all the time, I read Proverbs 1 every single day for years and years and years. And it helped me discern life. And that's what it's about. So the first proverb is 12:13. And it says this, it says, lies will get any man into trouble, but honesty is its own defense. Lies are going to get us in trouble, but if we're honest, we don't have to defend anything. It will defend us. Proverbs 12:19 says this, truth stands the test of time. Lies are soon exposed. And then finally, Proverbs 20:23 says, the Lord loathes all cheating and dishonesty. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want us to do it. And here's the thing. As Christians, we need to remember that we are God's disciples. We're His ambassadors into this world, because we're not from this world. As Christians, if we're Christians, we're sons and daughters of God. And we're going home one day. And we want everyone to see who they really are by our actions. And our actions are what's going to get us all home. Just remember, it all works together. And so the very first step in getting home is to ask Christ into our hearts so that we can be strong enough that when something happens, we can come clean and say the truth. And so right now I'm going to ask Christ into my heart to strengthen me, to open my mind up, and to remember always that the truth is the way. Dear Lord, I know that I can't possibly be the man or the woman that you want me to be. I can't be that person that you need, that will lead others, that will shine your light, that will be a mirror so that all can see you, unless I have you in my heart. And until I have you in my heart, it won't be possible. So I'm asking you today to come into my heart, to strengthen me, to show me, to guide me, to help me be strong enough to always shine your light, even when it's dark and at its darkest point. Because that's the time everyone needs you. And if I can stand up and reflect you, I know all is not lost. And I know in this world, a lot of times people think that it is lost, because it is a lost world. So I'm asking you to come in, help me to help others. Help me to be strong and lead all the way home and follow the way you want us to follow. I ask all this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ.